So I have the mid 6-figure asset worth in crypto. This includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, Sui, Solana. Now, we're going to go into what you should be buying right now. And the big factor here is somebody asks, hey, who are you? My name's Dane. I've started 2 companies that's gone over 7-figure value. I've exited one, and I'm also in the process of getting a third one to get over that 7-figure value. We're here down at one of my favorite places. This is a property that we're purchasing. It's over 50 acres, and we're going to be turning this into some really, really special stuff. So I like to invest in different things. We're valued over $5 million. And one big factor I want to get into around the crypto discussion, as these bugs just slaughter me, is that I want to break down a little quick story here. Okay, I'll try and keep it quick. And this goes back to a unique discussion and a unique story around my father. Okay, and so my father raised us, and he's, great dad, absolutely amazing father. And he raised us under one thing, and that was that every single morning we had to listen to Rush Limbaugh. If we were in his car, we had to listen to Rush Limbaugh. If we were driving somewhere, we had to listen to Rush Limbaugh. If we were sitting on the toilet, you saw the Limbaugh letter. So we were constantly exposed to Rush Limbaugh and all of these politics. And he would do these radio broadcasts for 3+ hours every single day. My dad would listen to them all the time. And then what he would end up doing is he would try, he was a great coach. He would do political things and try to impact the world in the way that he saw fit. And he still does this, but he does it. He helps a lot of people out. Okay. He does a great job with actually contributing to society. Now, the issue that I bring up here around this Rush Limbaugh story is that a lot of his time and a lot of his energy was spent listening to one person, listening to that individual and what their thoughts were, and just constantly basically despising one entire portion of the population, and then in turn making a lot of decisions that were emotional and a lot of decisions that were based off of those feelings and those emotions, right? And how he felt towards that specific area of the population based off their political beliefs. And so over the last 30, 40 years, a lot of his life was geared towards almost being this, I don't want to say martyr, but very much so this political individual, going into conversations with that as like the forward-thinking thought process and the filter that everything would come through. And so what does this have to do with crypto? So what I relate this to is it reminds me, and I'm from the fitness space, it reminds me of the way that people deal with CrossFit. If you know a CrossFitter, they're always going to talk about their CrossFit class. It reminds me of people who are paleo. It reminds me of all the RFK people out there that listen to Joe Rogan and they just want to talk to you about, all the conspiracy theories because it makes them feel smarter than they actually are. And it's very similar in the crypto space. And so a lot of you have probably already clicked off. You're probably already triggered by the fact that you resemble this, right? And so the thing is that when we look at the crypto space, okay, you can listen to someone like Raoul Paul. You can listen to someone like Crypto Banner, those groups of individuals, and they will tell you for years on end that crypto is going to do X, Y, and Z. And they will tell you, for instance, with Raoul Paul, that the banana zone is starting. Okay, so, and I want to talk about this as in very recent issues. Okay, so when Bitcoin was halving last year, okay, if you ask them, crypto was going to go to the moon. As soon as it halves, it's going to skyrocket, right? And it didn't really do anything. And so afterwards, you're like, well, hey, what happened? Why didn't that take off? Well, it was because the ETFs were already in before crypto took off, before Bitcoin took off. Okay, all right. So then you go through the rest of the year and you're listening to these podcasts, you're listening to these discussion points, and it goes on and on about how you've got to put your money in now. It's going to go to the moon. It's the beginning of this era. It's going to be absolutely insane. And if you don't do it, you're going to lose all your money. And they'll continuously speak through all these aspects of fear-based information that's not actually data-driven. It's just go in, buy this. XRP is going to go to the moon. Doge is going to go to the moon, when Elon starts back into the company, into the government. And so everybody starts to think through this and they want to buy in. And then they say, okay, wait till the election period starts. So the election period starts, and wait till Trump wins. Okay, so Trump wins, and it does go up quite a bit. So then they're, oh yeah, the banana zone's starting. The banana zone, it's going to start. And you guys can actually go back and look at Raoul Paul's content that he puts out. He was saying the banana zone was starting literally 6 months ago. And so you go back and you go through it and you're like, all right, so then when crypto sort of doesn't do anything, they start to say things like, well, wait till they cut interest rates. Wait till the Fed cuts rates. Did we look at 2018? Did we look at what happened with Jerome Powell in Trump's first actual run through in office? Did we understand there's going to be volatility? We should have been looking at how crazy up and down this presidency would be based off of just his past occurrences in office. And I'm not saying that's bad or good. I'm just saying, like, that's what happened. And so the thing that ends up happening with the crypto space is that we get completely brainwashed by people based off of baseless issues, based off of baseless data, and they just speak in all of these high terms, and they convince people who don't have a lot of money to put all of their life savings into specific coins so that they can make a ton of money because it provides some sense of hope. It's very similar to stocks. And so when you watch somebody on YouTube and they say, buy these 10 stocks that are under $5, the reason why they're doing it is because someone who doesn't have a lot of money, normal people who don't have a lot of money, see this as a low barrier of entry. You immediately go, I don't want to buy Meta, that's at $700 a share right now, because I can only buy 2 of them. I could buy this stock that I could buy 100 of them, right? Well, so in your mind, because you don't fully grasp everything that's going on financially, you think this will go to the moon and it'll completely change the way that your future is financially. And that's exactly what happens in the crypto space. And so one of the biggest mistakes that I did, I had a large windfall from one of my companies, and what I ended up doing, it was for fun, was like, all right, I'm going to put 10K into this meme coin. And I had a friend who's put $150,000 into this because he was in the space, because he was part of that Rush Limbaugh-esque brainwashing. And instead of taking that time, and part of this is that a lot of people, and this is what will trigger a lot of individuals, is that a lot of the people that have this mentality of my life is going to change, my situation is going to change based off of this meme coin. I'm going to retire. I'm going to go to the beaches. I'm going to spend all this time doing whatever I want. I'm going to buy a vacation home. Those people, okay, are the same people that will buy a $5 or below stock because they see that is what's controlling them, and that they see that as what's going to change their future, because they are unhappy and they have not established a path of passion. They haven't figured out what they want to do with their life. Their parents didn't teach them how to do things that they felt good about emotionally. Their parents didn't teach them how to find things and that they can control their life. Okay? And so what ends up happening then is every single dollar that they make, they try to save, and then they put it into some crypto meme coin, they put it into some, they'll put it into Bitcoin, and then they sit there and, because the cycle is quite volatile, they don't have that much money. And they could have 5 years ago put $10,000 into NVIDIA, and right now it'd be worth like $120,000 to $150,000. 5 years ago, you could have done that with NVIDIA. 5 years ago. And you know what you could have done? You could have analyzed the actual market, okay? So you could have looked at the market. You could have looked at all the prospects. You could have looked at the data. You could have read the trends. You could have gone through the industry. You could have seen all the interviews of these individuals that were talking about NVIDIA. You could have thought through things that were actually real, okay? And you could have made this decision, and you could have actually changed the path financially. But because we spend so much time being brainwashed by individuals, and because we're at a low risk, or we're at a high risk point in our lives because we're not happy, we have a little bit of money, we hate our job, okay? Because we don't have a lot of passion for the job. So what ends up happening, you take a crazy risk like putting it into a meme coin and you lose everything. And so that's my biggest issue with crypto. And so when we look at it, first, you've got to have that job with passion. Second, the crypto should be less than 10% of your entire portfolio, of all of your bills, of all of your assets that you own, of your real estate, of your mortgage, of everything. You should be less than 10%. And the next thing here, one other thing that drives me absolutely insane is all of the people that I'm referring to and attacking right now, they're the same people that will talk about decentralized government. We should have a decentralized government. We should have a decentralized system. We should have a laissez-faire economy. We should do blah, blah, blah. We should deregulate. We should do all these things. That's why we should get into crypto. The only coin that is non-centralized is Bitcoin. Every other one has an institution behind it. It makes no sense. And you're looking at it going, okay, so SUI has an institution behind it. And I go through these thought processes and I'm like, you guys don't make sense in this actual space. You're totally conned, and you have this immediate thing that you want to, like, it's like prove the world that this is going to happen. But then at the same time, you don't take a step back and be like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it. The only one that is actually decentralized is Bitcoin. And so the biggest thing, okay, first of all, if you want to get into crypto, and what you should be looking at is, first, you got to work 50 to 60 hours a week. Stop working the 34 average hours every single week, because the way to get more money is to make more money than you spend. Okay, so you've got to make way more money than you're actually spending on a weekly basis. You're going to save faster, you're going to have a lot more money, and then two, you're going to start to see other aspects, other trends that you hadn't really seen prior. Okay, so you got to work more. Then you got to control what you can control. Hang your freaking clothes out to dry. Stop going out to the restaurants all the time. Control your weight, lose some weight, eat less. All these things factor into saving money, right? Then the third part. Now you can start to look at things. All right, you want to put something into crypto? Okay, you want to try to invest into Bitcoin? Well, guess what you need to do? You got to save $10,000. Then you got to have probably one or two retirement funds. Then you got to have that emergency fund set up. That's 8 months of your expenses at the very least. And then after you do that, you get into ETFs like VU and SCHD or something like that, right? You get into that. You play it really, really safe. And then the next thing that you've got to do is you've got to set a goal of that. I want to have X amount of dollars put into the standards, like let's just say a Google right now. Okay, so Google's down. Guess what? Google's down because they're dealing with a lot of federal law issues currently. Gemini has 400 million people in its app. It is going off in the next year and a half. Google is going to explode. AMD, talked about AMD in the past. Put money into those stocks before you even think about crypto. Don't even think about it. Put money into things like that you can actually read the trends. You can read what's happening. You can think about long-term growth, 5 to 10 years, but you've never been passionate about anything as far as long-term development, so you don't understand what it means to be long-term committed. You didn't go to the gym for a long period of time. You didn't save your money for a long period of time. You didn't hold relationships for long periods of time, so you have issues with that mentally, and that's why you want to get into crypto. So if that sounds like you, don't get into crypto. Now, with that little rant that I just had, what I think about is, I don't think you should go into Ethereum or Solana or SUI. Okay, I have a lot of money in those. I wish I wouldn't have put that money in there. I wish I could take all that money out right now and say, screw it, I'm putting it into AMD, I'm putting it into Adobe, I'm putting it just into the ETF VU. I wish I would have done that. I made a big mistake on that. I think it's fine to get into something like Bitcoin, and I think it's fine to play that long-term game with Bitcoin. And you just say, look, I'm going to put it in there. If it goes to this point, I'm going to pull some profits, and then it's probably going to drop back down, and I can play the game all over again. But it should be less than 10% of your entire portfolio. You've got to take care of all those other things first. If you don't have a house, okay, and you have a family, don't go into crypto. Okay, save up for a mortgage. Okay, save up that first $10,000. Make sure you got the emergency fund. You got to cross your financial T's. You got to take care of your financial I's. You got to do that step-by-step process. And you've got to find a job that you're going to work 50 to 60 hours a week on so that you can make extra money. And that's how you're going to get and change your entire outlook on your financial situation. I hope this helps somebody out there. Peace.